That was a great interview, Jeff. Now finally, where can I find your website?
I don't have a website.
What?
I just never got around to making one.
You know what? I can't take you seriously with an attitude like that. I am extremely disappointed in you. To not have a website is irresponsible, lazy, you lack ambition. I mean, where's the vision?
Don't be like Jeff. Be responsible. Get out there and shine with a beautiful website by Web Orchard, where they will take care of all of your website needs. Go to theweborchard.com right now and get a beautiful website you deserve.
You know what? Get out.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast with me, Alex Whiteley. Thank you for tuning in. We got a really good podcast lined up for you. Speaking to Adam Rhys from TWS podcast, a really good friend of mine who I've seen create a groundbreaking podcast from the beginning and take on the world, win international awards and bring people together in both the worlds of sport and neurodiversity. And also we've got lots to talk about with that. But before we get into that, I want to say thank you to Kirsten, who sent me in this amazing story. I love it when you guys write to me and send me stuff. Thank you so much, by the way. But this is a great story about three very brave gents from MKM who are doing a tandem skydive to try and raise as much money as they can for Little Rascals. Little Rascals, they work with SEND children, which stands for Special Education Needs and Disabilities. So these are children that need a little bit of extra help to get them through education and to make their life amazing and fun. And they're trying to raise £25,000 for their sensory van project. So these three brave gentlemen are going to jump out of an airplane to try and raise as much money as they can for that. First of all, hats off to you. That's a brave thing to do. And the fact there's three of you going to do it as well. I mean, that's great because you can egg each other on, or the banter must be great between those three. So congratulations, well done, and I hope it all goes well. What I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm going to put the link for their Just Giving at the readout of this podcast. So if you want to donate, whatever I know times are tough, but if you've got £2, £3, whatever it is you've got, just drop a few quid into the Just Giving thing for them. It's for a great cause, and they're doing a great thing to do to raise that money. So well done to those three gents from MKM, and thank you, Kirsten, for sending that in. I just want to say thank you to everybody that's writing me emails as well. I'm getting lots at the moment, and I'm sorry if I'm not getting back to people very quickly. Just trying to get at the end of this. Trying to get to the end of the season. I am loving this season, by the way. It's been great, but focusing on this season, and then I'm going to plan season Charlie. I do have some ideas, but those emails I will start responding to this weekend, and we'll get in some conversations. It's really difficult now because we only have those 10 episodes to fill in. And so those spots, they fill up quite quickly, actually. So those emails I'll look at, and I'll formulate a plot and a plan for season Charlie. So thank you for your patience, and thank you for your emails. Right then, let's get into this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Adam Rhys from the TWS podcast. Let's do this. Right, guys, welcome to a fantastic episode today, bringing you probably one of the best podcasters in the business. And my guest today, Adam Rhys from TWS. How are you?
Oh, hi mate, how are you?
I'm only joking. Adam, great friend of the podcast. We've been I've watched you grow from the very beginning with TWS. It's been how long?
It's been 3 years in May, so 3 years and a month now, which is incredible. To see the journey that we've been on from 3 years ago is amazing, and to see where we are now is, to be honest, something that I never saw coming. So it's taken me by surprise as well.
Yeah, it's been such a lovely thing to see go, because I think you hit TWS with such enthusiasm and but not like a neediness. I mean, you're a podcaster and you're part of the community, and you know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to neediness. Some people, they really come on too strong with things, but as you're kind of just like, yeah, we're doing this thing. And I think people have appreciated you for that, haven't they?
Yeah, I think they have. And I think so. Yeah, our podcast is run by our students at our school, and I think that we're quite a niche category in terms of I don't know of any other podcasts. I'm sure there are plenty out there, but I'm not aware of any other podcasts like us who is a school-run podcast. We're breaking down barriers around autism and some of the struggles that some of our students do face, whilst interviewing these incredible sportsmen and women and the journey we've been on and the learning the students been on, because we are a school and the idea of the podcast is to teach our students kind of key skills and skills around the curriculum, and to do that in the way we have has been so much more engaging and fun, and the students have really enjoyed it, and the journey has just been incredible.
It really has. From an outside point of view, and I'm sure from where you're sitting as well, But we need to go back. We need to discover where this thing comes from, because we can sit here and talk about TWS and all these amazing things, and the listeners are probably going, well, what is this thing they're talking about, and where did it come from? So where's the school based? Where are you guys?
So we are Tettenhall Wood School. So Tettenhall is in Wolverhampton. Mm-hmm. So we are a special school in Wolverhampton for autistic children and young adults. So I joined the school 4 years ago, so 2020. And yeah, it's an incredible school. It's a very unique, special school. All the students are completely different, very unique in their own ways, very amazing as well, and have lots of amazing skills and brilliant students to have. But yeah, it's a wonderful school, and it's based in Wolverhampton, and yeah, I'd love it there. It's a really, really nice school.
It seems like a challenging role to take up, but you seem to have really thrived in it. I mean, 2020 sounds, but just after I sort of saw you sort of starting out, 2021, what was it like starting at the school, getting going? Was it a challenge for you? Did you enjoy it? I mean, what was that like for you?
Yeah, it was a challenge, and it was obviously 2020 is the year no one wants to talk about, so it was extra challenging in terms of joining a new school during COVID. So that brought challenges itself, and joining a new school, new students, new staff in a very challenging time in education was quite scary. No one quite knew what was happening. Our students having special needs, it was extra difficult because trying to explain to them what was happening in the world was very challenging, and lots of our students didn't understand it and were getting quite confused and quite upset by what was happening. So joining the school at the time was quite difficult. But when things got back going in kind of early 2021, that's when the podcast started as well, and things kind of grew from there. And yeah, kind of never looked back since.
What was going on with the world was scary for everybody, but coming from the perspective of someone from the neurodiverse background, I can imagine it was challenging. But what happened with the world in 2020, which was annoying to me, because I launched a podcast which was planned a year before. I launched a podcast on April Fools in 2020. Just as the whole world decided they were going to make a podcast. And I was like, oh my God. And we'd lined up some amazing guests, and we planned it all. We designed logos. We went up there. We were so excited. And then we looked around what was happening. We were like, and this all happened because we had the plan. All these podcasts were getting rolled out before ours came out. It was just so You Suck got drowned.
Right. And I had no podcasting experience. I've never really heard of a podcast until kind of 2020, and the first podcast I listened to was Peter Crouch's podcast, and until the pandemic came along, I've never listened to a podcast. I never really knew what one was, but yeah, during that year and kind of the year after, the podcast just exploded, didn't they? Everyone was doing them, including us. We jumped on the bandwagon.
It's not though. I feel like I always say this to people that start in podcasts. People do reach out an awful lot. Adribs, amazing rapper, spoke to me just last week about a podcast he wants to start, and he's like, how do I do this thing? I always say, like, there's 16 billion ears on the planet. There's enough people out there to sit and listen to podcasts. And it doesn't matter if you're from the same town. It doesn't matter if you're from the same school. I feel like everybody can make a podcast about everything. So if you have 4 podcasts in the same school, and one's about sport, one's about comedy, one's about fashion, and one's about everyday things, I feel like there's a room out there for everybody. Yeah,
there is. There's a massive niche category for everyone. And yeah, there are lots of podcasts, but there's lots of podcasts that people listen to as well, lots of popular podcasts, and I think they're only continuing to grow on. Every kind of business seems to have a podcast now, and every sports channel has their own podcast, and yeah, they are growing quickly.
What are the challenges setting up TWS? First of all, what does TWS stand for?
So Tettenhall Wood School, which is the name of our school. So yeah, the challenges setting it up were we didn't really know what podcast was. And I was a little bit naive at first as well. I think I just thought, oh yeah, get a laptop, stick a microphone in, away we go. Which in essence it is, but there's a lot more behind the scenes to it, and hosting platforms and getting guests and research and editing software that I think people don't see behind the scenes. I'm sure you're aware, like editing can take hours and hours and hours, and people don't see that. So I was a little bit naive at first myself of thinking what actually goes into a podcast. And then the challenges were, without sounding harsh, our students. Our students weren't sure what a podcast was. Our students weren't confident about what they were delivering, what they were doing. And it took a lot of practice. So we did a lot of sessions we interviewed random staff at school who were pretending to be David Beckham and pretending to be Ronaldo. And the students would ask them questions and learn about how to have conversations. Because one thing with autism is struggling to socially communicate, struggling with social situations, struggling to maintain a conversation. So there's a lot of work initially around how do we have a conversation, because it comes quite naturally to lots of us, but for autistic individuals, it can be quite challenging. So we learned how to have a conversation. We learned how to ask questions. We learned how to listen. And yeah, I think as well, we do most of our podcasts via Zoom or some video software, which helps our students. Because I think it's a lot less intimidating.
Yeah.
Our students like being able to speak on the computer and talk on the computer without that intimidation and that nervousness of meeting somebody in person. We have done a few in person, which have been great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think initially kind of understand what a podcast was, prepping our students, and then as it's gone on, getting the guests, which has been amazing, but getting guests on the podcast, I'm sure you're aware, can be quite challenging as well.
Very challenging, but also exhilarating when it comes good. When it goes your way, it's some of the best things. I mean, some of the stars you guys have spoken to are just incredible. I mean, how do you? So, the first season you guys do, the first thing are you thinking? Start off small, move big, and you knew where you were going, or did it kind of sort of snowball into what it became?
Definitely snowballed. If I'm being completely honest, I thought it would last a term, so kind of 10 weeks. And it all started with, I'm lucky enough, I knew a few local footballers, I knew one or two local sportsmen and women. So I thought, right, we'll chat to them and we'll see where it leads. We might get one or two more, we might get a few contacts, and it'll be good for a term, and then it'll die off. And after 3 or 4 episodes, we thought, actually, we're onto something here, because this is growing. We're getting quite a bit of attention from local media. The biggest thing as well for us was we would get a sporting guest on who would then share it on their social media. And some of the guests we were getting had hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers. So just simply them retweeting it, sharing it, branches out to thousands and millions of people very, very quickly. So we're very lucky in terms of our guests will often put us in touch with other guests, so former teammates, friends within their sport. So yeah, quite quickly after having a few local people that I knew, so like Dave Edwards, a former Wolves and Shrewsbury player, is a good friend. So we spoke to him in episode 2 of the podcast, and then 1 or 2 other people that I knew from my sporting background we spoke to, and it's very quickly grown, and they've put us in touch, and they've put us in touch, and they've put us in touch. So yeah, it's very quickly snowballed, which was not what we were expecting.
I'm scrolling through like the episodes now, and I'm on season 2, and you got Nasser Hussain. He's a legend. Matt Letizia. You know, these are incredible. And when you first start doing this with the kids, with the students, at what point do they start sort of clamming up with some of the big stars? I mean, does that become a problem? Because for me, sometimes, I mean, we interviewed Billy West, who's one of my idols. Of like, it's Fry from Futurama. He's there in front of me, and you've got to sort of like. I mean, I know you put some practice in, but sometimes when they're your heroes in front of you, it's not easy, is it? Even probably for you, Adam.
It is. So I think I'm worse than the students. I'm the one getting nervous. I'm the one getting scared. I'm the one thinking, like, what we're going to say. We're talking to Nasser Hussain, who's like one of the greatest England cricketers of all time. And I think for the students, they're lucky in terms of, I think, they're not always aware of who we're speaking to in terms of the profile of the guest. Because our students are 13, 14 years old.
Yeah.
So the people that they're excited about are Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane, Jack Grealish, like these current people. And we're speaking to a lot of maybe people who have retired or come towards the end of the career. So it makes me feel quite old. And I'm not old, but it makes me feel quite old. And I'm saying, we've got Matt Letizia on the podcast. And they're like, who's Matt Letizia? And you're like, well, he played football like 15, 20 years ago. And you're like, we've never heard of him. And you're speaking to Nasser Hussain, who was England captain 15 years ago. They've not heard of him. And
Joe Hart, who's just retired, you know.
Yeah, Joe Hart. It makes me feel quite old, and I'm not that old. But the students take it in their stride, and we got a few, especially like Conor Cody we spoke to, who at the time was Wolves captain, and the students were very nervous about him. Obviously, Conor's a bit of a legend in Wolverhampton. So speaking to him, the students were quite nervous, scared, unsure. There's been a few times. A few of the wrestlers, some of our students are massive WWE fans. So they were quite intimidating as well for some of our students who are big wrestling fans.
Well, I imagine that's something like TWS and the format that you've got, as far as like a curriculum or an education thing. I imagine this spreads much further than your school, though, because I imagine there's lots of people that, education-wise are from a neurodiversity background, are looking at what you're doing and thinking, this is great. I mean, have you had lots of professionals reaching out to you because of this? Yeah,
we have. And over the 3 years, I'm involved in a few other podcasts now. Not that I run, but people have got in touch and asked for my help in setting up a school podcast. So there's a few schools around the country, there's a few in England, one in Belfast, who have reached out and asked, like, how have you set this up? How have you done it? There's a few podcasts that I'm involved with, which again is amazing. And lots of parents of autistic children have reached out and said, it's amazing hearing Alyssa or Tom speaking on the podcast so clearly and so eloquently, and it gives me some hope for my child in the future that when they're 14, 15, 16, that they can go on and achieve something like this, and they can have a career in the media or a career in something else. One of our, a name drop one here. So we spoke to Paddy McGuinness,
I just saw that,
who's got 3 autistic children, and he was very complimentary at the end of saying that hearing our students who are older than his kids speaking on the podcast so well gives him hope for his children that in 5-6 years that they can go on and have jobs and kind of make an impact in the autistic community, which for our students to hear something like that off someone so big and famous and popular in the autistic community is incredible.
Yeah. And this is what I'm thinking, because there are people with autistic children in small pockets of the UK that probably don't have access to something like this, or something that they probably don't know how they're going to cope with their child being the certain way they are, or getting them through education, and stumbling across your podcast and kind of what you guys do and seeing the development that offers. I imagine there's lots of parents out there that see this as a glimmer of hope. Genuinely, I don't mean to blow smoke up your backside, but it really is for a lot of people, I'm sure.
Yeah, and that is the feedback we're getting. I think autism and special needs has become a lot more mainstream now. You're seeing a lot more programs about it on TV and stuff, but there's still not enough. There's not that much exposure for autism. So for parents and for maybe autistic adults to hear our podcast, and we're quite big on social media in terms of we put a lot of content on social media, to see what we're doing is really important to some of our parents and some of our autistic adults that watch us. It's yeah, you're right. It does give some of our parents and people hope that actually there is something beyond school for my daughter or my son. And it's yeah, the main feedback we get is from parents of autistic children.
Good on you and everybody involved with the podcast. Seriously, I think it's wonderful. This is what I think attracted to me to you, and as a thing, we brought you guys to Pod Aid, and you very thankfully came and spent an hour with us for Pod Aid, which I'll never forget, because that was such a huge machine to operate. I stopped doing it because it was there's so many moving parts, 24 guests for 24 hours all over the world. The team were all, it was just an absolute nightmare. So for you to actually come all the way from Wolves and turn up and be there and be a part of that day, like just to see you guys, anybody that was part of that, to see you walk through the door and you're like, I'm like, yes, it worked. That meant genuinely meant so much to me. So thank you for that. And
congratulations with it. It's yeah, a very difficult task doing it. So well done.
I do hope we can bring it back someday, but I need a bit of help. And yeah, there are things happening in my personal life at the moment that might make it possible soon. So we shall see. We shall see. I was talking about. I was thinking about. There was an advert I saw on Facebook. It's like it was an advert. It was like an infomercial. It had a Down syndrome girl on there, and she was talking about. I think she went to the bar, and some girl was like, "Would you like a juice?" And she was like, "No, I want a drink." And she went on this massive rampage about, "I can have a drink, I can act, and I can do this, and I can swear, and I can have sex, and I can do all this." And it was one of the most powerful things I think I've ever seen. I think I watched that trailer like a million times, that advert. I don't know if you know the one I'm on about. But
no, I'm not sure. You have to send it to me.
I'll send you the link. I think you'll probably agree it's really powerful. And I feel like that's because the world is changing around us. I think people are starting to realize that. I mean, I hope to think that people are starting to think they're human beings like us. They're normal people. I mean, like, that just seems like a bizarre thing for me as a support worker who's been doing this for years, who knows people as individuals, that there's still people out there that don't think that. And that's an upsetting thing to think about.
It is, and I think you're right. It is definitely changing that. And I think when I've experienced it out in the community, when I take some of our students out, and some of our students might have a kind of difficult moment in the middle of Morrison's and maybe get overstimulated by something, and you hear shouting, screaming, or maybe see some aggressive behaviour or something like that, and people walk past, they look at you, they touch, they make remarks, they say nasty things, and it's horrible. It's really horrible. And you think, actually, this child or this person isn't naughty, isn't doing this because they're a nasty child. They're doing it because actually they're struggling and they're finding things overstimulating and they're finding things challenging. So to have a bit more understanding, I think we're getting better. So there's a lot more in the media about it. There's a lot more celebrities and stuff talking about it now, which is good. But yeah, it's still a challenge. And I take a lot of our students to watch Wolves and Shrewsbury, and sometimes we still get remarks and people looking at us in funny ways because maybe our students are making a different kind of noise or shouting at the wrong time or something. And it's not very nice. It's really hard to deal with and for our students to deal with, but it's definitely getting better. And I think people in the public are getting more educated now about special needs in general, which is good and hopefully continues.
Speaking of football, it pains me to say this, being a Shrewsbury fan, but Paul Mullin and his story on Welcome to Wrexham was a nice one to see, because, happy-go-lucky footballer finds out his son's autistic and then does a complete U-turn and becomes this lovely man that goes out and helps this amazing thing. But the problem is he plays for Wrexham. But it's a mainstream thing. Millions and millions of people are watching that show. I've had friends, fellow podcasters, come over from America just to come watch Wrexham games. It's bizarre, the whole thing, to me. But like the fact that
they turn up at this little rubbish stadium, and watch Wrexham. It's not quite Shrewsbury, is it? They should come to Shrewsbury.
No. Well, and they can fit 12 people in the turf. I mean, come on. I don't know. You guys have been working with Wrexham. It probably pains you to say that. It's not. It's awkward for me because I grew up there. I grew up in Wrexham, and it's a bittersweet thing for me. I love the fact that the town's getting this positivity. It's needed it for a long time. But I was the English kid in the Welsh town. You know, it wasn't.
Yeah, it is, and it is good. Every Friday, isn't it? Like Friday evening tomorrow, I'll watch the next episode of the documentary, and it is amazing what they're doing. And I think them being in League One next year with Shrewsbury is only a good thing. I think having that rivalry back, hopefully Shrewsbury can finish above them, but having that rivalry back is a good thing.
I'm just hoping we survive. We're buying lots of League Two players at the moment. I'm thinking, are you guys prepared? What is it? Is this a parachute you're building right now? I don't know. Do you know what? Actually, being a part of the Shrewsbury supporters has been one of the nicest things for my family. I couldn't go to the Wrexham games. I couldn't because I'd be fighting. People are probably listening to this thinking, "Oh my god," we have listeners in America now that are probably thinking, "You crazy." But like being back then, it's probably better now. I hope it's better now. But being the English kid in a town that's literally just over the Welsh border was terrible. It was really hard. So I couldn't go to the Wrexham games. I didn't really get to watch a lot of football, so to walk into the meadow in Shrewsbury and feel that electricity and be a part of that whether we win or lose, that is what it's for, and that's why I keep going. So it's important, really important to me.
It's like a drug, isn't it, football?
Yeah, it really is, and it's nice to see you guys there as well because you guys go regularly, don't you?
Yeah, we do. So some of our students go regularly to between Shrewsbury and Wolves, and it's a nice mix because some of our students that don't like going to the Molineux just because it's bigger, the atmosphere is a bit louder. So going to Shrewsbury, which is a smaller stadium, the atmosphere is still good, but it's not as loud, and is better for some of our students as well. So we like to mix it up and go between the two of them.
What's the reception been like with some of your guests? Have you had any difficult situations with them? I mean, have you had mainly good receptions? What's it been like for you?
Yeah, 99% have been really good. We have had one guest who we never published the episode. It was a female boxer, that's all I'll say. So we had a female boxer on who was just quite challenging and was quite rude to our students in terms of our students, obviously being autistic, at times can struggle to ask questions and struggle to communicate at times. And again, I suppose it's just showing that the small minority who have a lack of awareness and lack of understanding. So when our students ask questions, maybe the questions didn't quite come across as they should have or as she was expecting them. It got a bit rude, and we cut the interview off after about 10 minutes because I'm not having my students kind of going through that situation. So it has happened. Luckily, that's out of 114 guests. That's happened once. But majority of our guests are amazing. And I do have to, at times for the podcast, just explain a little bit to them. So some of the things we're working on with our students is holding a conversation because our podcasts are quite heavily scripted in terms of we do our research, we have questions ready.
You do.
And we ask the questions, and I'm trying to get our students to just go off topic. If they want to ask a random question, if they want to continue the conversation, continue it because that's natural. So sometimes I'm going to have to say to our guests that our students are working on this, so try and keep the conversation going, try and facilitate it yourself. Because I think if you listen to our first few episodes, they're quite robotic in terms of the student asks a question, the guest answer, the student asks, the guest answer.
Yeah.
But now, if you listen to some of our latest podcasts, it's much more natural. The students are much better at going with the flow and asking random questions or off the script, which is what I want, which is what you want to do, natural.
That's natural for everybody. That is so natural. I mean, like, this is one of the things when people ask me, and probably yourself too, about like making notes or podcasts, like, I always go back to the Charlie Adlard episode, is that me and Tom Bruno Love you, Tom. We sat up till about 2:00 in the morning, writing notes after note after note. Like we pages and pages and pages of notes about with Charlie Adlard. He came around my house, and you could almost hear me turning the pages and reading these questions out. Like you said, it's robotic, and it was like I was so nervous. I mean, for this, I've just written your name because I always write the guest name down, even if I know him. Because for some reason, you'll know this, as soon as you hit record, sometimes the most basic information. I remember being at Netley Hall, right, with Liam Tinsley, my good friend. I forgot the guy's name now because it's been distance, but he explains the owner. He introduces me to the owner. He tells me his name. We've been talking about him for ages. We hit record and I forget his name. It's mad. So I always write the name down and then the name of the podcast. That's it. They're the notes I've taken. That's it. But that's the years of
and I think
experience.
You don't need all these notes. I think sometimes the conversation just flows. And I think as a podcast, as a host, it makes you being vulnerable a little bit and learning as well as the podcast goes on is much better than you having a very robotic script. And I say we do have a script, and it is getting less and less and less. But the students as well are a lot better at going off script and just, especially Alyssa, if you know Alyssa on our podcast, she will just go off script and ask anything, which is brilliant. I want it to be.
I love how upfront she is. I think that is an absolute superpower to be able to go up to someone and very smartly ask them the questions you want to ask, because people beat around the bush, and I feel like as far as I've got family that are autistic and I've got friends that are. It's one of those superpowers to just have the confidence to go up there and say to someone, "Why are you wearing that shirt with those trousers?" Doesn't go, you know.
You will. And like inside I'm cringing, but I'm also thinking, "Yes, Alyssa, go on, keep going." So, yeah, she's brilliant. I absolutely love Alyssa. She's a great student, great person, and great on the podcast.
How do you keep things fresh season after season with do you keep new students coming through? How do you scout the students to make sure I want to say good enough to come on the podcast? That's probably the worst thing to do, but the people that have got the abilities to come on there and want to come take part.
Yeah, and I suppose that is a challenging thing of the podcast. Yes, lots of our students at school find communication challenging, and the bad thing about a podcast in terms of education is you have to be able to communicate, you have to be able to listen, you have to be able to read, you have to be able to maintain a conversation, which does limit the students that we can choose on the podcast, because lots of our students at our school maybe do find that a little bit challenging. But yeah, so over the 3 years, you've had 10, 11, 12 maybe students host a podcast. And they rotate usually on a kind of a 3-4 week basis. But yeah, so before this academic year, we do interviews. So we'll put out, like this year, we're doing a podcast again, who wants to be involved? And everyone who wants to get involved will come. We'll do a little practice interview. We'll ask a few questions. We'll see what they know about the podcast. We'll give them a little bit of a scenario. And if they like it and they want to continue, then they're in. And we've had students who come, we'll do an episode, and actually after an episode with a guest, we'll think, actually, I didn't really like doing the podcast, Adam. I don't want to do it again, which is fine. They've done it, they've tried it, they didn't like it, that's fine. But if they do like it and they do want to do more, then we'll keep them for as long as they want to do it. And say Alyssa's done it now for probably 2 years. Jacob's done it for nearly 2 years. And we have some students who drop in and out and come and do it for a few episodes here and there. So yeah, we'll come next September or this September, we'll interview again and we'll see who wants to get involved, and we'll hopefully get a few more students who want to do the podcast.
I want to come on an episode, especially speaking to Joe Hart. I'd love to get him on my show. I've never really reached out to him because I always thought it'd be too, I don't know. I wouldn't say he's too big to come on my podcast because it's the Shrewsbury Biscuit, but I think if you can hook me up with an interview with Joe Hart.
Well, I don't know now he's retired. I don't know, is he returning? Is he
match of the day?
I don't know.
He's match of the day now, isn't he, or something? He's becoming a pundit.
I don't know where he's living these days.
Well, Joe, if you're going to listen to this, give us a shout. Come on the biscuit. No, seriously though, I think the caliber of the guests that you've got, I think it speaks for what you guys are doing, and I think people look at something like TWS and it makes them feel good that they're doing something nice, because it is a good thing. What are your favourite sort of guests? The ones that kind of shocked you and came on the show and you couldn't believe they were on there?
So I think there's been a few. The best guest, I'm a big, not so much now, but I was when I was growing up a big wrestling fan. And to be able to get Kurt Angle, Mick Foley, Mike Chioda, who was the referee, one of the referees on the podcast. And Mick Foley was growing up, in the 90s, was my hero. Like, I loved watching him, and having the chance to speak to Mick Foley and talk about his famous matches against The Undertaker and reliving my childhood was just incredible. I never thought we'd ever get. Look, one day I literally went on Kurt Angle's Instagram and I sent him a DM and he replied. And try it. That's what we try it. And to get Kurt Angle on was just incredible. And Kurt Angle personally touched Mick Foley. So yeah, to get them two guests, which are worldwide massive guests from like sort of the late 90s, early 2000s, was amazing. Paddy McGuinness, again, I know he's not a sports person as such, but he's got 3 autistic children, a massive celebrity here in the UK.
Anybody that's going to spread your word, doing what you guys do, if they got a big following, get them on,
Yeah. No, it's amazing. And I think personally, though, for me, I'm a Cardiff City fan, really. I grew up in Cardiff. I'm from Cardiff. So we spoke to quite a few Cardiff City players, I always love a good Cardiff City story and talking about Cardiff and the rivalry with Swansea and Newport and stuff like that. So, yeah, anyone linked with Cardiff so they're probably the best ones. Mick Foley was a special one.
Damon Hill as well. I grew up around Damon Hill, hearing that name around the house. How was he? Was he all right?
Yeah, Damon, again, was absolutely brilliant, former world champion. So, yeah, he was amazing and a sport that we hadn't tapped into much in terms of F1. So, yeah, speaking to him was amazing, and hearing his stories about his rivalry with Schumacher, again, in the 90s, was amazing. And he was brilliant with our students and had so many stories, and now I think he works at Sky Sports now in the media. So hearing all his stories about F1 was amazing. Yeah, another top guest.
Wonderful. I'm not going to go through your guest list and be like, what was he like? What was he like? What did... Well, I just thought that was such a cool... I remember you doing that. I'm thinking, you got Damon Hill on his podcast. That's amazing. I want to talk a bit about sort of the sports and the localities of it all now, because obviously you guys are in Wolves. Wolves is a big place attached to a lot of big teams and things, and we're in the Shire, and it's smaller, but they're like closer knit communities. And you talk about like Wolves being this huge stadium, lots of noise, compared to Shrewsbury, which is noisy. We sit in the noisy bit, but nothing in comparison. They both have their qualities, right? But I mean, what are your thoughts on Shrewsbury versus Wolves as a sporting town?
Both heavily football dominated.
Yeah.
So all of our links with Shrewsbury and Wolves are through football. So if you look at things of your closest rugby team is probably Northampton Saints. I mean, your top rugby team, which is about 2 hours away.
Yeah.
Cricket team, again, you're looking at Warwickshire, Birmingham. So yeah, both two heavily football-dominated towns, and it's both. Again, Shrewsbury is very unique in terms of it's a one-town football.
Yeah.
So your local team is probably Wrexham, Walsall, and then the league below. But in terms of League One, until Wrexham joined you, there wasn't really a local derby, was there? There's no one really that close to you that was
not really.
a local derby, Wolves being in the Premier League. So they're kind of unique cities and towns, and I think I prefer watching Shrewsbury Town. I quite like going to the smaller stadiums. It's better. You get to know people a bit more. You get the atmosphere can be much better, I think, at the smaller grounds and the smaller stadiums, because the fans are bit more passionate and don't always have that Premier League success and the cameras. And so, yeah, if I could choose, I think I prefer to go watch Shrewsbury Town. Wolves, because Wolves can be a bit, I don't know, different, I think, Premier League.
I was reading a paper about a guy who with his son has been going to Wolves for so many years. It's the thing that they do, but they've increased their prices for season tickets by exponentially. And this isn't a dig at Wolves. I mean, whatever's going on there is going on there. Respect to whatever's going on. I mean, it's hard for everybody. But he was saying, I can't afford my season ticket, so we can't go anymore. And there are loads of like smaller towns, people from small towns, even people from Shrewsbury, come and watch that game and stuff. I feel like, when it comes to like the big boys and the big leagues and stuff like that, sometimes it's good to take a step down into the lower leagues and take a look what's in your locality. I feel like, Shrewsbury has got a county team. I know we've got Telford, but come on. Respect to Telford, but come on. They'll probably tell you, but Shrewsbury's a county team. There's nothing else like you said, there's nothing else there. So we welcome everybody from the county, and it's really nice to see that, there's so many people come from far and wide to come and watch the football. Whereas like Wolves, it's kind of like, it's big, it's massive, So I mean, we love going to the away days to the big stadiums, but sometimes it's really nice to come back home. You know what I mean?
It is, I think, as well. Previously, I worked in Shrewsbury. Everyone in my previous school in Shrewsbury supported Shrewsbury. You got a few Man United, Liverpool fans, whatever.
Yeah, they're about.
even if you're a Man United fan, your second team was Shrewsbury. Whereas at the school I'm at now in Wolverhampton, you get Wolves, Villa, Birmingham, Walsall.
Yeah,
you get West Brom. Although it's one city, there's so many other clubs very close to the city. So majority of people at my school are probably Villa fans. Which isn't good either.
It's nice to mix it up. I mean, I have this conversation with my boy about, because he's got like a shirt for every team. I feel he's got Liverpool shirts, Real Madrid shirts, Brazil shirts. He's got all sorts going on. He's got, he's half Colombian. He should have a Colombian shirt. We need to sort that out for him. I keep saying to him, like, back in my day, like, it was always like you had to support the town from where you're from, and that's the way it always has been, right? But like, things are changing now. I think people are like, especially when it comes to players, people support players rather than teams, and they follow them wherever they go. I feel like if you can just enjoy a sport from a distance, like the NFL, I mean, if you look behind me, you can't see, I've got like caps from loads of teams. I will support the NFL as the NFL. Don't choose a team because I'm not from there. This old-fashioned way I've been brought up. I'm not, I just love a particular player from a particular team or what have you, and that's a really nice way to look at things too.
I think you're right. I think when we were younger, and maybe our parents were younger, football wasn't on TV, so you just went to watch your local team. So I grew up in Cardiff. Yeah, football was on TV. This is talking like early 2000s here. So football was on TV, but it wasn't as widespread as it is now. So I went to watch Cardiff because that's my team. But now I see kids. You see kids in Al Nassr tops because they like Ronaldo. You see Messi tops, and they've never seen these teams play, but they just support Ronaldo. They support Messi, or they support Bellingham or Kane. So yeah, I think it's definitely, and you can watch football. You can turn your phone on and instantly watch football anywhere in the world now. I shout
random player names at my son because he's all about Messi and Ronaldo, and I'll walk past and be like, Bastian Schweinsteiger, because I'm just trying to remind him that other players exist. Nedved, Pirlo, it's mad. These guys are dinosaurs now.
I see more Al Nassr tops than I probably do.
Yeah. It's mad.
Man United tops these days.
And you play cricket here in Shrewsbury. This is one of the main reasons why you're on the show today. Not because you're my friend, because you are my friend, and it's great. I love what you do. But you're playing Column Cricket Club. How are things going there?
I do. So yeah, it's going really, really well. So Column Cricket Club, based in Shrewsbury, just behind the Shire Hall. You know who that is, with the big man on the tower. Mm-hmm. It's going really well. So we're currently top of the league, which is good.
Hey.
We formed in 2018, and we have got promoted every year since.
Wow!
So I think we started off in Division 7 because you have to start off at the very bottom, and we're now top of Division 2. So in 6 years, we've got promoted every year. So the fastest growing club in Shrewsbury, and so we're currently top. So hopefully we'll get promoted this season as well into Division 1, which is for a club only started 5-6 years ago is incredible, and it's a great club. It's a real community-based club. It's a great place to come and play cricket. There's lots of locals who come down and play, and and watch and enjoy beer on a Saturday afternoon. So yeah, it's a really good club, and I really enjoy playing there.
Right, okay, I'm going to say something that sounds really negative, and I'm really sorry, Adam. This is going to.
Go for it.
I can't watch cricket. I've tried. It's a bit like baseball, right? I've tried watching baseball and a bit like cricket. I mean, I don't know what it is about. I mean, this is weird as well, actually, because I'm an NFL fan, and that's a start-stop sport. Start-stop. Cricket is the same. But I feel like going to watch it live might be different. I feel like if I go to watch it live, there's a bit more kind of. The big games that they play at, Old Trafford and things like that. That might be different. I don't know. Let's try it out.
Mace, I agree with you. So I play cricket. I've played cricket ever since I was pretty much born. I coach cricket, but I hate watching it on TV. Because that reason, it's quite a boring sport, especially like the Test matches, which are 5 days. I will occasionally watch the Ashes, so England, Australia.
Mm-hmm.
But if England are playing Bangladesh, I've got no interest in it whatsoever, because it's not very exciting. The 2020 stuff is a lot more exciting, but still, if you gave me the choice of watching football or rugby or boxing, I'd definitely choose them over watching cricket, because I think cricket has a lot to do to become more exciting and drive a new audience.
I think they need to switch up the commentators. Like, what you should do as a one-off, just to see how it goes, right? Take like a wrestling or an NFL commentator, put it in in cricket, and swap the cricket for the wrestling. So he's like, "Oh my god, it's a pile driver. He's dropped him." And he's going for the pin, and that's a one. And then in the other side, cricket's got, oh my god, this ball's amazing! It's a pile driver. I think that'd be just the best way of doing it.
Definitely more exciting to watch, because I do agree. It's not the most exciting sport, but playing it is different. I love playing that. I love batting and love bowling.
But that being said, you guys are creating drama. You've created drama at Column, where you guys have been promoted every season. This is the point I was rounding up to saying, is like, you guys have created tension in the air that would be super entertaining to watch. And so I feel like I need to pay you guys a visit. I know I've been saying it for a while, but I'll definitely.
Yeah, no, it's definitely come down. It is a great club, and we are making kind of big inroads into the cricketing community in Shropshire. So we're hopefully going to get promoted again. So we're top of the league at the moment. We've got lots of good things happening at the club, with lots of good people involved. Amazing.
Well done to everybody involved in Column for creating something from the ground up and standing up there on the shoulder of giants. How far does Shropshire cricket go then, as far as professional cricket goes? Is it something that you can earn money from, or can you get sponsorship for? I mean, how does that go?
Yeah, you can if you're offering.
Yeah.
So we're in Division 2. So there's Division 1, and then there's Premier League. You get, I think, with all amateur sports, there is money floating about, kind of in the top leagues of people paying maybe some ex-pros or some very good amateur cricketers. So you can get, you're not going to earn a living out of it, but you can get a few £100 here and there. And then again, if you get promoted from the Shropshire Premier League, you go into the Birmingham League, which has a lot of ex-pros. A lot of Warwickshire cricketers will play on a Saturday if they're not playing for Warwickshire. So the Birmingham League is a very, very strong league with lots of ex-pros, it's basically that's probably semi-professional. The Birmingham League, it's a very good standard.
Wonderful.
Standard of cricket.
Sounds amazing. And listeners, you may have heard me, I'll say droning on, but I don't drone on this podcast, but going on about a very special event that's happening on the 21st of July. Tell us about that, Adam. You got something really special coming up, haven't you?
We have. So, Sunday, the 21st of July, Column Cricket Club take on an all-star 11 made up of former cricketers, some local footballers, some former Premier League footballers, all to raise money for the club. So the money's going 3 ways. So it's going to the club, but also 2 local charities. So the Little Rascals Foundation, which is a foundation in Shrewsbury which supports children with special needs, and the Whistle Foundation, which is another charity that aims to make sport accessible and inclusive for all people with disabilities in the West Midlands. So we're doing it to raise money for charity as well. So we've got lots going on. So there's kids entertainment, bouncy castles, face painting, barbecue, great food, live music. So we've got some great bands coming down. There's Shropshire Fire Service are bringing an engine to do a bit of a fire display.
I'm going to bring a studio as well.
Kind of kids stalls, fake games. So yeah, it should be great.
I'll bring my mobile studio. We'll get some interviews as well. I'm going to do a one-off. I've said this to you. I said we're going to get you on the biscuit first. We're going to set the scene, and then we're going to turn up, and we're going to get some interviews from that scene. I'm really excited about it. Number one, I'm going to watch some cricket for the first time. That's exciting. And number two, getting some great interviews and being a part of something very special. I just want you to know how much I appreciate the journey you've been on. And, just to be a part of even a little bit of that is just really, really nice for me because I remember when you first started, we got a mutual friend and I've forgotten his name. Phil Better, yeah. I think he introduced me to you. He's like, oh, there's a guy not far from you doing a podcast. And that's how we got to know each other. So to see this...
We have a mutual friend that neither of us ever met who lives in Canada.
Yeah.
Introduced us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is what this community is about, though. I'm speaking to people in Nova Scotia, Canada at the moment about some work that we're going to be doing. There's 3 retrobates from New England. They're my good friends. If they listen to this, they'll know. We're putting together a New England and Old England one-off podcast on their show. And I was like, I'll bring the tea. And they were like, it's going back in the Boston Harbor. Yeah. It's going to be one of those podcasts. But we make friends all over the world, and that's the whole point of it. And that's why I think, when it comes to what you do, I think the reach is just so big, and you've won national awards for what you do, the podcast awards. That international, or was it?
International, yeah.
International awards, sorry, beg your pardon. So people are recognizing what you're doing, and it means so much. I'm droning on about, I'm sorry, my past and future guests, somebody who's selling a book, or somebody who's planning an event. You're talking about neurodiversity, which is the thing to be talking about, and sport as well. That's international. People like sport.
No, it is, and yeah. So it'd be glad you come in to our All-Star event. Hopefully, we've got some ex-Shrewsbury Town players that you can speak to. So
yeah, I mean that's one thing I've been trying to lean into a little bit. I didn't want to force my way into that as a biscuit. I go to a lot of the supporters events and things, and part of the supporters panel actually. We meet up every few weeks and we talk about things. I'm very proud to be a part of them people, but that some of the people on that panel know who I am and what I do, and they ask all the time, why is the biscuit not involved? It's because I don't want to wedge it into all those places. That's really not why I go to the games. It's not. I don't want to be there to be like, I'm the biscuit guy, like if it happens, it happens. But yeah, I'll be so grateful to get those interviews. That'd be great. Thank you.
Last question. I'm sure your listeners, you probably mentioned this before. Why Shrewsbury Biscuit? Where does that name come from?
Because there is a Shrewsbury Biscuit. There's a town named after a biscuit named after a town. If you go up Castle Street and you go past the library, there's a building. The first building you come to has got a grey side. I think it's a bar, but a salon at the moment. And on the side of that grey building, there's a plaque, and it says this is the birthplace of the Shrewsbury cake, which became the Shrewsbury Biscuit. And there's a bit about Darwin, how he got tricked into, apparently if you wear your school uniform and you go and ask for sweets, you get them for free. Well, anyway, the reason why I call it the Shrewsbury Biscuit is because I was learning about the town as I was going along. And I remember going to a Ross Noble gig in Oakengate in Telford. And he was like, I'm going to throw some Shrewsbury Biscuits in the crowd because he heard we were rival towns. And everybody was like, And he's like, you don't know that your rival town has got a biscuit named after him. And it's like a light bulb moment. Like, I learned about something about Shrewsbury on that show. So on this show, I'm going to learn about Shrewsbury as I go along. It just sort of clicked. And I like it's nice. It's good. It kind of fits. There's a famous, I'd say famous, I've forgotten the name of it. There's a big brand of Shrewsbury biscuits in Australia. Like Jammy Dodgers. Jammy Dodger is a Shrewsbury biscuit. Right, okay, so before anybody writes in corrects me. I'm going to do it myself. I always thought that a jammy dodger was made out of Shrewsbury biscuits, but it's not. It's actually shortcake. So imagine my horror when I've just learned this after seeing this on the podcast. Gonna leave it in though, because you know what? It's a learning moment.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm learning some myself.
yeah. They're good biscuits. How far is your listener base? You getting them internationally around the world?
Yeah, so yeah, we do. Obviously, our main one's obviously the UK. Our second one is America. So we've had quite a few American guests. So again, wrestlers and a few baseball players and a few other people. And Australia is third, I think, because we do a lot of cricket. So we spoke to a lot of Australian cricketers, a few Australian rugby players. So yeah, we do. Not massive numbers, kind of outside UK, America, and Australia. But yeah, we get a few, and it's always nice. We had a email last year, I think, random email dropped into my email box from a lady in Argentina.
Oh, nice.
I don't quite know how she got my email address, which is a little bit scary because it was my school. It was my school email address, which isn't public. She got it somehow. But she was very nice and very complimentary. She listened to the podcast, and she's a regular listener, and she is learning about autism and learning about kind of our community, which is amazing to reach some random woman in Argentina. So yeah, we do, and it's nice, always nice sometimes to hear on our Facebook page, which we have, that someone's enjoyed it from Canada or South Africa or wherever they're listening from. So yeah, we do. So it's obviously very UK and US based, but yeah, we do occasionally.
I want someone to just nip to Antarctica, have a quick listen to one of our podcasts, and then come back, because then we'd have cleared, I think, every continent on the planet, which I think is bizarre. It just blows. Genuinely, I'm like, there's people in Chile listening to the Shrewsbury Biscuit. I mean, I remember when we first started, actually, like, I think it was like our 5th highest listening country was Russia. Genuinely, I was like, what? Okay, why are people in Russia listening to a show in Shrewsbury? I thought I was going to get attacked for being a spy. It's nice to see. It's nice to see that it's growing the way it is. What are your plans for the podcast? Is this going to continue as long as you're at the school? Are you going to try and grow it? I mean, what are your plans for it?
So yeah, plans are to keep going. So come September, we'll get some new students involved. Because a few of our older students naturally just are leaving our school this year. But I think it's just to keep going. I think it's growing naturally. We're being nominated for 1 or 2 awards again this year, which is amazing. And I think, as I'm sure you are very well aware, it's a lot of time. It's very time consuming. It's a lot of effort. Doing it as you do alongside a full-time job with a family, it's difficult, and it's hard to keep it going and momentum growing. So I think just continuing what we're doing, getting new students involved. And I think every time we get students involved, we naturally have to take a few steps back, because you get a new host, someone new join the podcast. You have to kind of relearn the skills that you might have taught the previous student. So it's a constant cycle of learning and adapting and challenging the students, and then they move on and you get a new bunch of students. So I think, yeah, continuing what we're doing and continuing to grow naturally, which is the best way. Yeah,
I mean, it is difficult. I mean, but if you, I don't mean this in any patronising way. I hope it doesn't sound patronising in any way. But if you ever need a hand with any sort of editing, or if there's anything I can do to ever help you, sort of with the podcast, just I mean, we've helped each other out in the past anyway. But I mean, like, if there's anything you ever want, just reach out, man. Honestly, I think
we will do. Thank you. I know. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, editing can be a nightmare at times, can't it? It
can be. What I'm going to do, listeners, is I'm going to put the link for the website on on the readout for this podcast, as well as the Instagram page. You got Instagram? You on Instagram? Instagram? Yeah, of course. go to the website and start listening to some of the podcasts and subscribe wherever you go. I mean, like, it's one of those cliche things, like, share, subscribe. But, if you go to a podcast on Spotify or iTunes or it's podcast, was it podcasts for Spotify? Podcast. They're changing it now, aren't they? I think they've killed Anchor, and they're doing Podcasters of Spotify, I think it's called. So Anchor, It was a free platform where you can make your own podcasts, and millions of people joined it during the pandemic, and it was that popular that Spotify, because it's owned by Spotify were like, got to do something about this. So they've changed the name of it to Podcasters of Spotify. But yeah, wherever you are going to listen to this podcast, just hit a follow or like, and every time Adam posts a new episode, it'll ping up on your phone. That would be great. Is there anything else that you want to mention before I let you go, before I release you into the wild, Adam?
No, I think so. I think as well, congratulations on everything you're doing. It's a great podcast that you've got, and really looking forward to seeing you down Column in a few weeks. And
it's gonna be good.
Keep up the good work yourself, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you for chatting to me.
Brilliant. Listeners, make sure you listen to the TWS podcast, and don't go anywhere, because I'll do a quick outro just to say goodbye to you folks. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been Adam Rhys. Thank you so much for joining us.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Cheers. And there we go. What a great interview that was. I say an interview. It was more of a chat. Me and Adam, quite experienced podcasters. So that was quite smooth, actually. And I'm not saying that my other guests are inexperienced in any other way, but when you make content like a podcast or radio, you look for those things that make things difficult to edit. And I feel like there's like a courtesy thing there when you go on somebody else's show, you know what to do and what not to do. So thank you, Adam, for joining me on the show this week. It was really great chatting to you. What I'm going to do is, like I said in the episode, I'm going to put a link to the TWS podcast website. Go and take a look, have a peruse, and take a listen to some of the amazing podcasts they've got there. They've spoken to some of the biggest stars in sport, in the sporting world. I'm very proud of how far they've come, and I really do encourage you to listen to that. And I know a few people actually that have naturally leaned on TWS, because I do share a lot of Adam's stuff, and so there's a few people that listen to the Biscuit that have started listening to TWS. They were at Pod Aid. I'm going to put a picture on social media, just so you can see that that it really did mean the world that they came all the way from Wolverhampton to come on Pod Aid. When they came through the door, it was really nice to see. So again, very, very grateful for that. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If it is your first time listening to the Shrewsbury Biscuit, I'd like to encourage you to give us a follow on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. We're on TikTok too. It really does help when you give us a follow. If you see any episodes that you enjoy, share it with your friends. Tell people about us. It really, really does help. But I'm going to keep this short and sweet. This was a great episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. And yeah, I'll catch you at the next one, guys. Have a great day. Peace out.